Hello and welcome again to another video tutorial here on understanding body language liars, cheats and happy feet. So this is the second video I've done since my return. Now this is Rebecca Leighton on this morning television here in Great Britain, which was on a couple of days ago. Now, without me going into too much detail about who Rebecca Leighton is, I'm just going to play this little snippet, and then you'll be able to get a good indicator of who she is and why she's being interviewed by Philip Schofield. So, just listen to this for a second, and you'll be able to understand the story behind why she sat there.
Here's a reminder of the events that changed her life forever.
Police have tonight charged a 27-year-old woman in connection with the deaths of 5 patients at a hospital in Greater Manchester.
27-year-old Rebecca Leighton was arrested in July after 3 unexplained deaths at Stepping Hill Hospital in Stockport and was charged in connection with contaminating bags of saline and criminal damage with intent to endanger life. The print media immediately dubbed her the killer nurse.
The 8-day search.
So there we go. So anyway, to cut a long story very short, she's now been subsequently released and she's come on to television here in Great Britain to do an interview about her experiences.
The person charged, 27-year-old nurse Rebecca Leighton, is free. The evidence against her insufficient to persuade the prosecution service she should be convicted.
She's since described her time in custody as a living hell.
Okay, so we're going to start the interview here and we're going to see if we see any signs of shame or guilt in association with these murders, or if we see any truthful body language. So let's start the interview and let's see if we can spot anything at all.
Rebecca is with us now. Welcome, Rebecca. Why did you want to become a nurse in the first place? It's just always something I've wanted to follow.
So the interviews always start with easy questions. So this gives us an indication to see if we can spot any baseline behaviours. So with questions are not necessarily associated with the subject at hand, we get to see what people do naturally, whether they start scratching their face, touching their nose, make certain repeated chains of movement. This is a good opening question to see if we can spot anything that Rebecca does naturally. So not when she feels shame or guilt or any kind of emotional attachment to what's happened. So let's see if we can spot any repeated chains of movement.
Rebecca is with us now. Welcome, Rebecca. Why did you want to become a nurse in the first place? It's just always something I've wanted to follow to do. Such a caring person. My mum's a nurse as well, but I've never wanted to do anything else. It's the only thing I've ever wanted to do.
Good. Now then, that reminds me very much of a Michael Jackson response in the sake that she shakes her head, which is inconsistent with what she said. Something you've always wanted to do will result in the head nodding downwards in the yes position. What we can see here from Rebecca is she shakes her head no as she talks. Watch this again.
Why did you want to become a nurse in the first place? It's just always something I've wanted to follow to do.
So she's shaking her head no, but saying something positive.
My mum's a nurse as well.
But don't read too much into that.
But I've never wanted to do anything else. It's the only thing.
So never, meaning I never want to do anything else, and the head shakes no, that's consistent. So we're seeing consistencies there, but not in the first instances. So we can't read too much into the head shakes because this is probably a baseline behaviour.
I wanted to do. And the hospital, Stepping Hill, what was it like working there prior to all of this?
Fine. I love working as a nurse. I loved it. You know, like I say, I've worked really, really hard to have got where I've got to today.
So I'm just going to pause it there, and what I'm going to focus on here is lack of pupil dilation. So a lack of pupil dilation comes in when we're trying to take in quite a little bit of light. So if her pupils were dilated massively now, it could be an indication of stress. So when our pupils dilate, it can be a sign of stress and it can also be a sign of fear. But we're seeing pupils that are relatively constricted. So that's a good sign of honesty automatically there. So our autonomic nervous system is not kicking in just yet, because one of the clues that there's problems going on in the mind and the brain comes out via pupil dilation.
My career and everything, so.
So in the days leading up to the arrest, I imagine the atmosphere in the hospital was completely foreign to you. This hospital was suddenly descended on by police. There's suspicion everywhere. Describe to me what the atmosphere was like.
It was just surreal. The whole thing was surreal. Working in such an atmosphere, everybody was unnerved. Like,
So we can hear the nerves in her voice, but I'm sure that's something to do with the fact that she's on television and not necessarily about what she's talking about. So I think it's actually this is watched by up to 10 million people. So obviously you're going to feel nervous about the situation you're in, not necessarily about the context she's talking about. So we need to rely on that.
It just wasn't anything that we've ever been used to. It's never happened before.
So you're just kind of hoping that there's been some sort of mix-up and there'll be a reasonable explanation.
Yeah, and exactly that. That's what in the back of everyone's mind.
So look at the asymmetrical shoulder shrug there.
Kind of hoping
Watch it again.
There's been some sort of mix-up and there'll be a reasonable explanation.
Yeah, and exactly that.
See the asymmetrical there?
In the back of everyone's mind was there's got to be a reasonable.
So I've watched this video. That's an interesting point. So we'll come back to that one later on.
To patients. And even now, I would look, we would all like it to be a reasonable explanation, but obviously it's an ongoing investigation. So,
well, of course, then.
So now how the eyes shift there to go down and to her right. Watch that there.
Now, I would look, we would all like it to be a reasonable explanation, but obviously it's.
There we go. So we see that expression with the eyes moving down. So she's breaking eye contact purposely there.
Investigation. So.
Well, of course.
And then the eyes move again down and left, and there we go. So we've got tightening around the corners of the mouth here. So I think there's more to the story than what Rebecca's telling us there. There must be, otherwise she wouldn't make that particular facial expression.
The investigation centres around the deaths. There's a police presence, and then on July the 20th at 6 o'clock in the morning, the police bang on your door.
Yeah.
And how does that feel?
Horrendous, absolutely horrendous. So. Obviously, I was asleep in bed. I was meant to be at work the next day. Woke up.
Okay, I'm just going to fast forward this video on to around about 8 minutes. And let's see if we can spot something.
Nobody, everybody I know does that. I've not done anything different than anybody else.
Okay, so she's talking about her profile pictures on Facebook showing her
I've got a big group
drinking and having a good time.
And the media, portrayed it to be that work got in the way of my social life, and ask any of my friends would tell you that I never used to go out half as much as they wanted me to, because I had
so we see another asymmetrical shoulder shrug there. Did you spot that one? So her asymmetrical shoulder shrugs here.
Ask any of my friends would tell you that I never used to go out half as much as they wanted me to.
There you go. So we see another asymmetrical shoulder shrug there. So we're seeing repeated chains of movement. I don't think are not necessarily indicative of deception. So we can't read too much into that.
They portrayed it to be the other way round.
Do you feel that there will be people saying, well, there's no smoke without fire?
So I'm seeing a familiar trend throughout this video, and I'll come to my conclusion shortly.
They've got it so wrong, they couldn't be any more different from the truth.
So where does that leave you now with regards to going back to nursing, continuing a normal life that you had before all of this happened?
It's hard to even say about having a normal life, because even now my life isn't normal. Obviously I'm living at my parents'. I'm not living where I used to live. Obviously I'm not working. I can't go outside my house without people taking pictures.
Okay, right, yeah. So let's just fast forward slightly on here to when we asked you. She's asked another quite hot question here.
That's what I do. That's what I've worked so hard for,
right,
and all this attention.
Would you change?
Obviously, my name being released so early.
August, details of which can now be reported.
Here we go.
According to the judge, Mr. Justice Enriquez, it hinged on 2 of your fingerprints, one on a saline bag said to have been damaged by a needle, the other on an insulin-contaminated bottle of antibiotics. Yours were not the only prints on the bag. Many other people had access to those items.
Yeah. Obviously, I can't go into too much information because it's an active investigation. But yeah, as you read it, that's right.
There are still the outstanding charges
now this bit is very interesting.
The fact that there's an investigation into your admission to police that you stole 3 boxes of drugs, antibiotic penicillin-based drug, box of ibuprofen, and a painkiller tramadol from the hospital as well. But that is an ongoing investigation.
Yeah, that's an ongoing.
That's not something we can go into now.
So look at that expression there. Now then. My conclusion, because that's where the video pretty much ends there, is what Rebecca has been accused of is tampering with those saline bags that was resulted in the deaths of those 3 people. I see no signs of deception throughout that entire video. I don't see any pupil dilation. I don't see any fleeting micro-expressions on the face. I don't see an increase in manipulators or adapters. We see very few illustrators as well. She looks comfortable while she's talking. She doesn't appear to be showing any signs of stress or anxiety, which you would associate with killing someone, even accidentally. You would have signs of stress throughout different channels of the body. We don't see that. We do see nerves, but that'll come in by being interviewed on national live television here in Great Britain. However, so I don't think that she's had any involvement in those deaths, judging by her body language, because she's not showing the signs or symptoms of distress. However, we do see a fleeting micro-expression when she's asked about this other question here, about the disappearance of medical
the fact that there's an investigation
stuff.
into your admission to police that you stole 3 boxes of drugs, antibiotic penicillin-based drug, box of ibuprofen.
And we see the lick lip there, so that is indicative of stress in the mouth, causing the limbic system, making the mouth dry.
You stole 3 boxes of drugs,
Do it again.
antibiotic penicillin-based drug.
And we see a micro-expression flash on shortly.
And a tramadol from the hospital as well, but that is an ongoing investigation.
Yeah, that's an ongoing.
Not something that we can. Yes, not something we can go into now.
And there we go. So look at that expression there. Okay, so it's almost like slightly one-sided where we push the corners of the mouth into the side, so using the zygomatic muscles at the corner of the mouth, and that's the only expression I see where we can see guilt. Potential guilt there. So she might have accidentally taken these things, fully intending to return them. However, it's making her perceived to be as a thief, or it might be theft, and we can see that expression there. So we can see that she's extremely uncomfortable.
Yes, something we can go into now.
Talking about there, and it's very fleeting because the camera just pans around. See it again?
And the painkiller tramadol from the
Push it
hospital
again.
as well, but that is an ongoing
Yeah,
investigation.
that's an
not
ongoing.
something that we can. Yes, not something we can go into now.
There we go again. So we see the same fleeting expression there. That's the same one we saw before. So I think that particular question causes her more stress than the questions about the deaths of those 3 people. So, my conclusion is I see no signs that this girl is lying. Don't forget about pupil dilation comes in with fear. Right towards the end of the interview, her pupils have not dilated at all. They are the same constriction size as when she first started. And trust me, even when you lie about something and you try and conceal it as much as you can, often your pupils go very wide with fear. And it's the anticipation of punishment and getting caught. But we don't see that here from Rebecca. So it looks like the prosecution have made a good decision here by releasing her without charge about those murders. So there you go. So that's another video tutorial done on understanding body language, lies, cheats and happy feet. It's one of the very rare occasions where I do a video and the person actually looks like they're being honest. Most of my training is in spotting deception, but it's great to see hallmarks of potential honesty coming through on videos, and actually the outcome is the person is actually innocent. So I must say this video is very refreshing, and I do hope Rebecca gets her life back on track. So with that in mind, if you get the time, please check out my body language page on Facebook if you're not already a fan. It's called Understanding Body Language, Liars, Cheats and Happy Feet. I've got nearly 1,300 people on there now. I'm trying to get to around about 10,000 on there, and I'm trying to get to 1 million views on my YouTube videos as well. So if you want to go on my body language page, the link is just below this video. And yep, so I've done quite a few videos as well. If you've got any questions or queries, please leave me a comment. Please note I can't reply to all of them because I get literally hundreds of emails today on my videos. But if you enjoy them, please let me know. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment. Please share them as much as you can. I'm trying to get them all around the net. And if you're interested in learning more about body language, please join me on Facebook and we'll have a chat. So from everyone here at Understanding Body Language, take care and bye-bye for now.